as well, does everyone have Git set up on their computer? Raise your hand if you do not have Git set up on your computer. Awesome. That's a hurdle. Okay, so let's just start walking through this together. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your GitHub account. This is my GitHub account. As you can see, I already have a website. So, and GitHub really only allows you to make one website per account. There are ways you can get around that. And one is to create your own organization. So today I'm going to be creating a fake website through this organization. But for all of you, you should be operating on your kind of home screen.
Is there a way to either enlarge what's up there or make the front of the room dimmer or something?
We can turn the lights down.
You can make it bigger if you use Control plus.
Yeah, that's how you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd go even bigger if you can.
So once you're on your GitHub page, just create a new repository. And the first thing we're going to do is name our repository. And this is what your website's address is going to be. So if you're making a personal website, I would suggest using your name. But you can make it whatever you want to make it. If you're, maybe in the future, you'll help your lab make a website or, you know, make a website for some use besides science and like a professional website. You can name it whatever you want. But my website is named like marthawolfile.github.io. So today, for the purposes of this presentation, we're going to make Harry Potter's website because I love Harry Potter. And the important thing for this is we need to include .github.io after whatever you decide to name your website. And remember, there can't be any spaces or special characters. There can be dashes and underscores, and I think dots are okay too, like periods. Yeah, Ryan, jump in if I'm saying something wrong. And so all we're gonna do, I'm gonna keep this public. I'm just going to create my repository. And the next thing we're going to do is open an RStudio project. So if you haven't done this before, we'll walk through it, but a lot of you have probably done this before. So what we're going to do is just copy this. Yeah?
Should we initialize it with a readme?
No, I would not. All right, so we're going to copy to the clipboard this address, just using this button or like a, you know, left click copy. And then we're going to open our RStudio. And we're going to create a new project. So file, new project. We're going to use version control. We're going to use a Git project. And then where it says repository URL, we're going to paste that URL in that we just copied. And it should autocomplete into the project directory name. But if it doesn't, just hit tab. And that project directory name needs to be the same as the name of your GitHub repository. Yes, make it bigger. Oh no. Okay. Okay, my computer does not like when I do that. I'm gonna try to make it bigger.
Because you have it all set up, you can do it, make it bigger. I think it's a shortcut for other things here.
And then what I like to do for every new project is create a new project folder. And where that lives is it's just on my desktop. I have a folder that's called GitHub Files. And then within that file, all of these are different projects I have. Each project gets its own folder. So because I'm creating a new project here, I'm also going to create a new folder. And I'm just going to name that Harry Potter website. And that is where I'm going to save this project. And then I'm going to create project. A window should pop up saying that your repository in GitHub is being cloned. Yep.
I'm using R.
RStudio. Yeah, we need to use RStudio for this. Is everyone here? Raise your hand if you are not here yet. Okay.
If you get hung up.
Yeah, Michael's around to like help, so just raise your hand, or I can attempt to answer questions from up here.
I only have R.
Does anyone need to install RStudio?
So if you go to the website and type RStudio,
So.
you can download it. It's free. Yeah, it's a free software. But yeah, you can get the full. Yeah, it's so RStudio is just a GUI that uses R. It's not going to affect R at all. R will still be on your computer. It's just an interface to R. So it's up to you if you want to install it or not, but you wouldn't be able to do this without RStudio, which is free as open source.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you have a different problem. How old is it?
Do you hide the little bar that's on there?
Okay, so what the problem is it's called Xcode. And Xcode allows you to access the developer resources because
Since there's a pause, sorry, I'm just
Ask away.
catching up with your email and I'm trying to set up an account, so. But I'm not at this point, I just need to set up an account, so I just wanted to get to the page where you were showing the repository. Okay. Oh, so yeah, you're gonna need to verify. I'm waiting, yeah. I haven't sent you anything yet. I tried to send
This is our studio thing, so this has hockey.
No, I don't have any of this.
I would go to hockey.
Yeah, verify by having your GitHub minutes.
Jenny Bryan has.
Specifically.
Check that.
I don't remember, I accidentally did the hours. We can
Okay.
send
You
verification.
really good.
Okay.
So Martha, it may be because we've got a lot of different problems that are not going to be very quick. I would actually recommend
Pausing the screen.
everybody pause and finish, just walk through the main steps to get the site up. And then we can help people specifically.
Okay.
Just because I'm worried, we will get you there, but it may take a while for everybody to get sort of help.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's just keep going then. And we can always, we'll be here until noon, so we can always help you guys individually afterwards as well. Okay, so we have our project set up. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create 2 files. And these are really important files to have, and they're really important that you name them correctly. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna create a new R script. And we're gonna save that script. And we're gonna save it as, this is your YAML. This is the body of your website. And we're gonna name it _site.yml. So make sure. I can't zoom in.
I can't read that.
Yeah, sorry, I can't zoom in.
I'll be screencast to YouTube, so I'll be able to zoom in on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe it's this. Oh, God.
Hello.
Can you see it now?
Definitely can see it.
Oh, geez, no, see, they're enormous. Okay, well, that's not working. It's called _site, SITE.yml. We're gonna hit save, and R is gonna throw up a warning, and it's gonna say this is not an R script anymore. That's fine. We don't want it to be an R script. Did it save as did it pop up green too?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you create a new R script and try again?
Try, instead of an R script, actually, if you click on that button, go to text file, and then you won't get a warning, and you can save it with whatever ending you want.
Yeah, so we could do it again with a text file and just save it as _ site.yml, but I'm not going to do that because I do not want two of them.
No, I do not.
Do not. All right, the next file we're going to create is an R Markdown file. So we're going to go to New, create an R Markdown document. Just get rid of that. And we're going to save this R Markdown document as index.rmarkdown. And it's really important we save it as that name. So index.rmd.
.rmd.
RMD, R Markdown.
This is a new script file?
A new R Markdown file. Yep, so we're going to go to File. We're going to go to this button up here, this plus a new script, and we go to choose R Markdown, just the one with the red circle and white line through it. So now when we look over here at our Files section, this is what we should see. We should see your project. We should see an index.rmarkdown file. We should see your YAML, your _ site.yml, and a git ignore, which you can ignore. So raise your hand if you are not here yet.
I just don't have the index markdown.
Okay, so you create that by going to New, and then an R Markdown, and then just save that as index.rmarkdown. Okay, so we are like 50% to a website. Congratulations. So the next thing we need to do is we're gonna kind of build the bones of your website. So in this site YAML script, what we're gonna write out is a way that the website organizes itself. How your website is gonna be built together is what we're gonna write here. So I'm gonna write out a really simple one. And I think it'd be useful if you guys just copy that simple one for now, and you can always go back and add whatever you want. So the first thing we're all going to add together is really useful if I could zoom in here. Did that zoom in?
Yeah.
Oh,
A little bit.
let's try it again.
You're doing Control Plus or something. Right. Well,
Oh God. Okay.
Probably fine.
Okay.
The only thing you need to
Click on like a 100% or 200%, does it pop up maybe a slider?
No.
I think this is a different magnifier.
Can you scroll it to
I actually can't. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay. Okay. The top we're going to write output directory. So dir. Let me just open my little code. Hold on 1 second. All right, so in this section, tabs are super important. Okay, so let's all keep track of when we're tabbing because we're about to make a list of things. So we're going to do an enter, and then we are not going to tab at all. And we're going to write nav bar. Okay, now we're going to create our navigation bar. So this is the bar at the top of the website, you know, where you can click like about me, my CV, contact, research. We're going to create that now. So, okay, we're going to do 1 enter and 1 tab. We're going to do 2 tabs. Sorry, I'm looking at code on my phone. And what I'm going to do now is the title. And this is what's going to appear sort of in your navigation bar. People can click it to get back to your home page. On my website, it says Avian Ecology in the Great Basin, but it could also say like just Martha Woolfile. So we need to put whatever we're going to write in quotes. And this is Harry's website, so we're just going to do his name. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start populating with different sort of tabs we want. So you can tell your website if you want the tabs to be to the left or to the right. I think usually when we look at websites, we have a lot of tabs. They start left, and then usually like contact is way on the right. So let's do that here. So we're going to go left. We're going to go enter. We're going to do one tab. We're going to do a dash, space, and then we're going to write text. And then this is what the tab is going to say. So let's all together do home. This is going to be your home page. And then we're going to go enter. We're going to hit tab. We're going to write href. And this is what the HTML file that R is going to look for to populate this page. So your home page is that index R Markdown page that we created already. But GitHub isn't going to be looking for the R Markdown. It's going to be looking for the HTML file, which will automatically be created when we knit the file a little bit later. But for now, let's just type in index.html. That is one tab. So let's create another tab the exact same way. So dash text. Harry loves Quidditch, so. And then when we're creating our HTML file, this obviously doesn't exist yet, but in a minute, we're going to create an R Markdown file, and we're going to name it quidditch.rmarkdown. And we have to make sure that whatever we name this HTML file in our site YAML, it is the exact same name as our R Markdown file. So we'll walk through how to do that together. All right, let's make one more tab to the left. Let's do a little about me. Okay, is everybody here? Raise your hand if you are not here yet.
Just watching, yeah.
Fair, fair. Okay, so the final thing that I'm just going to do here is I would like also for there to be a contact tab on the right. So the way we do that is really simple. We're going to just do right instead of left, and make sure that right lines up with, so it's two tabs in from the, ooh. So we're going to go right, and we're going to make the tabs exactly like we did before. So you can name these, think about what you want to name these, but know that you can always add or subtract them later. Or you can change the name as well. So, okay, so let's save. Ooh, difficult to move the mouse. We're going to zoom out again. And we're going to save that. And And the next thing that's important to do is to create these R Markdown documents that we told R existed. So right now, all we have is this index R Markdown. So we need to create one that's called quittage.rmarkdown, about.rmd, and contact.rmd. So the way we do that, pretty simple. We go up to new. We create a new R Markdown document. And then we're just going to save it. I name this one contact.rmd. And then I'm just going to do that 2 more times for about and for quittage. Oh no. Okay, everyone, just look up at me if you're there. All right, let's give everyone a few more minutes.
You're stuck on something.
Yeah, I think it was a little there, and so you had to say. Yeah, okay. It is required. It's accepted. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So one of the second change that was related to the new operating system. It's pretty common, yeah. But it's annoying.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Raise your hand if you need a little bit more time. Okay. All right, so we are getting really close to having a website. The only thing that's left to do now is to populate these pages. So how you populate pages using R Markdown, and R Markdown has a little, or R Markdown syntax. So their syntax is a little bit different. And if you've never created something in R Markdown before, I have a pretty good, I have a few references. So if you go to my website, which is marthawolfile.github.io, it's also linked in those emails I sent. So this is my website, if you haven't looked at it yet. I did create it using R Markdown and GitHub. So this is what your site could look like if you wanted it to. But if you go down to R Markdown tips and tricks, there's 2 like super helpful links. I would save these links right at the top. So the first one is a cheat sheet, which if you've never used R Markdown syntax before, this is super helpful. It describes, how we make text bigger, how we insert an image, how we insert a link, how we make things italic and bold. This is really going to be important for formatting your website, and this is a really good link to have. And then the second thing is this sort of guide that section 10.5 talks about our Markdown site generator, which is what we're using. And this honestly walks you through what I've already talked about. And it goes really into detail about a lot of different things you can do to format your website. If you want to put a footer at the bottom of every page, this tells you how to do that. There's all sorts of, it shows you how to, add menus within your navigation bar, add shiny apps to your web page. this is a super helpful resource. And I would suggest walking through it on your own after you have this sort of bare bones setup like we do today. So I just wanted you to have this open as we start to populate the website, especially if you're not familiar with our Markdown syntax, because I think it's really helpful. So let's go back to our website. I'm right now going to populate Harry's homepage. So what I'm going to do, this part up here is called the header, and each one of your pages needs to have this. Okay, you need to have 3 dashes on either side surrounding some sort of formatting. And because this is Harry's site, I don't want my name on there, so I'm going to delete all this. We need to keep output HTML document up there. And then there are quite a few other things you can do in this header. And that link that I gave you goes through a lot of this stuff really well. You can, and also the blog post I wrote talks about how you can add themes. We'll add a theme together to your website, which I think you all are going to want to do. You can add different scrolling options. So if you want like a menu to sort of scroll with you as you scroll down your page, you can add that in the header. You can add formatting options. There's a lot you can do with this, and we're not going to go through all of it, but we are going to do today is add a theme. And themes are just basically different colors and text that your website is going to pop up, different font. So when we do this, we want to make sure HTML document is on a different line than output, and we want to do 1 tab over. So in this, just like our site YAML, tabs are super important. And then there are all sorts of different themes. There are actually 12 themes that our Markdown comes with, and those are listed on that blog post on my website. And there are also additional packages you can install and play with to make even more themes. But there are 12 themes, and I like the theme Yeti, so I'm choosing that theme. But you can choose whatever you want. And then the next thing we're going to do is just start to populate our website. So this is the Harry's homepage. So I want his name to be front and center. And this is how we make something centered. I want it to be pretty big. And you know what? I want it to be bold. This is going to be full of Harry Potter jokes, by the way. Okay, so I have his name. I think he wants to insert a picture here, probably Gryffindor Quidditch team. So let's go find a picture. Maybe you have a picture of yourself or like the lizard you study or whatever. So let's.
Does it have to be online, or it can be on?
It can be anywhere, and we're going to talk about. We spelled all that wrong, but you know what? Google gets it, so it's fine. So that's a good question. And so I'm going to pick one of these images, but before I do, a really helpful thing to do is if you want to have pictures on your website, or if you want to save figures from other work, I would suggest in your files, so over here in your environment, go to Files, create a new folder, and name it Images or Pictures or whatever you want. I'm going to name mine Pics. And then any pictures that you want to put on your website, save in this folder. And because you're in a project, when you write out the path to those pictures, which is part of what we need to do to call a picture in our Markdown, all you're going to need to write out is the path to that folder because you're already in a project, so R knows right where you are. So let's do that together. So let's save, I like this one. Let's save this image. So now I need to navigate to that folder, which remember I showed you guys These are all my projects. And I save this as Harry Potter website. I'm going to go into my pics folder. I'm going to name it something, lion. Okay. And now when I go to my pics folder in RStudio, I have that one JPEG saved. And you can add, you know, your personal pictures straight from your computer into that folder. I would just do all of that, not within R, do it within, you know, this sort of window, your File Explorer window. But you can drag and drop those images in just like you would anywhere else. Okay, so now I want to insert this picture, and I want it to be in the center. So the way we insert a picture in our Markdown, if you haven't done it before, is we do an exclamation point, and then we do square brackets. And inside those square brackets, you can write something about the picture. That would be the picture caption. I'm not going to do any of that. And then within parentheses, we write the path to that image. So remember, I put mine in the pics folder. And then I write out, and actually, at least my R does not like when I lowercase JPEG. I have to uppercase it.
Marco,
Yeah?
you need a period in front of your first slash.
Sure.
In front of this slash?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Or you can just start with pics.
Oh, you mean no backslash? What's this Harry like? Okay. All right, so we have our first page populated. This is all we're going to do for now. So the next thing we're going to do once you have, and if you're on your website, you can just write like, my name is whatever, like just write your name. It's fine. We just need something. I just want to show you guys how to knit. So kind of everything that I'm going to be doing from here on out is probably stuff that you're, except for knitting, it's probably stuff you're not going to be doing until you're really happy with how your website looks, which might be, you know, weeks to months in the future, which is totally fine. And you can also, remember, put a website live online that's maybe just like about me and your CV. And then you can work in the background on, you know, adding more content, adding more about your research, which I know from personal experience is hard to write about on a website format. But even having something up that's just about you and a CV, I think is really important professionally. So, okay, let's knit this now. And when we knit, an HTML file is going to be created automatically in our environment. And also, we're going to be able to see what this is going to look like when it's on the website. So let's check it out. So it's going to pop up in my viewer, but I'm going to press this little button, and it's going to show it in a new window so we can look at it a little bigger. Okay, so this is what the website looks like so far. So up here we have our nav bar, remember, and these are all the links we created in our site YAML. And we can't click on these links. If we try, it's going to throw up an error. Because when we knit, we're just knitting one document at a time. We can render our site, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, to look at how our whole site's going to look to make sure all the links work. But for now, we just look at one document at a time. So I don't love this. I want to make this picture smaller, I think. And I don't like that his name is right at the top. I'd want to put a break there. So let's do those things and then see how it looks. So if we want to do a break there, a couple ways to do it. I'm going to use this. This just adds a white space. And this is a little too big for me, this picture. And there are a few different ways you can control the figure size in our Markdown. It's not super simple, to be honest. Our Markdown does not love that. You can control figure width and height in your header if you want. And there's a little section on that in that blog post I just wrote. But what I like to do is this little workaround I found where we just add some swirly brackets and specify the width of the picture in pixels. So just from personal experience, 250 is a okay size. Okay, so let's save that and let's knit it again. I like that. That's better. Okay, so basically what you're gonna do now is go through and populate all of these pages. So let's just do something really fast. So let's make that, let's make it the same theme. And a theme is something you can add in your YAML, so you don't have to do this every time. You don't have to add theme here every time. So I'm just adding a sentence to each R Markdown so I can show you guys how we render the whole site. Harry's really angsty.
Sixth book, fifth book.
Yeah, we're in the 5th book right now. And now every page is, you know, populated in a terrible way, but that's fine. So we want to say, what I didn't do here, which I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Every time I populate my page, I obviously need to save it. And then I also need to knit it to create that HTML file. So you got to make sure you knit. So here's my Quidditch page. I just knit it. Let's knit my about page. So if we don't knit, we don't create that HTML file, and then our site YAML has no idea. It can't find the script it's looking for. Okay. So now we have our, and if we go to our Files tab, we have our 4 R Markdown files, and then we have our 4 HTML files. So let's say I am super happy with my site. I want to make sure all the links work. I want to make sure it all fits together. So what I'm going to do is in my console, let's see if I can zoom in a little. Okay, sorry if you can't really see this. Okay, here we go. We're going to write R Markdown. So we're going to call the R Markdown package. And we're going to write render site. So this one right here. So give it a second. So it's, as you can see, there's this stop up here. That means it's working. So don't press the button again. It's trying. So just give it a second. The first site build is always going to take a little bit longer than consecutive builds, unless you add something huge in consecutive builds. Okay, so now we can go to our viewer and we should be able to open this in our browser, and these links should work. So now when I hit home, I get to his home page. Quidditch doesn't work, great.
I think you have to open it up on the, your through our studio, the file itself, not the.
Oh, okay. But yeah, most of these links should work. And then if we hit the name, this should take us back to the home page. So the Quidditch link isn't working. That's all right. We're not going to dive into that now. Okay, so up until now, these are all useful commands for you to use while you are trying to build your site, while you're trying to get the formatting that you like, you're trying to decide what pages to add. Using the knit tab, the knit button, and using our Markdown Render site are things that are really useful. However, your site is not online yet, okay? It hasn't been put up live online. What I'm going to do is put this site live online right now and show you how to do it. But I don't expect you to get to this point for a little while, obviously. If you were at it today, maybe you'll be at it today if you just want to do a simple site. So let's make sure.
Change Quidditch is spelled wrong, that's why.
Oh.
It's correct there.
Oh yeah, look at that. So let's change that. That's right? No, it's TCH.
BITCHDI. There we go.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so I'm going to make this site live, and how we do that is we're going to push it up to GitHub. So any pushes that you make up to GitHub when you're working with your website are going to be live. It means once you push it, it means like, I'm happy with it, let's make it live online. So I'm happy with this. Let's make it live. What we're gonna do, there are two different ways you can do this if you haven't used GitHub before. The first one is to use this Git tab down here. But what I like to do is do Git from the terminal. I think it's a little bit easier, especially when I'm adding a lot of documents. If I was doing it in the Git tab, I'd have to click every single one of these, check every one of them. When I do it from my terminal, all I have to do is git add, and a asterisk means add everything. So when we use GitHub, we have to add, we have to commit, and then we have to push. So git add, we add everything. And these instructions are also on that link, because I know you'll be using these in the future. They're on, if you just go to that blog post I wrote, my blog covers it, and the links on my blog also cover it. So this is, you can find this online pretty easily. So we're gonna do git add, okay? Added a bunch of stuff. We're gonna do git commit, or committing to my master branch. And a commit, you just write a note about what you did. So this was my initial commit. And then I'm going to push. So this is going to tell me I need to enter my username and password. Unless you've created an SSH key, you'll be prompted to do this. And then once I have something that says master to master, like this, I know that it was successfully pushed up to the GitHub repository. So let's go make sure that's true. Let's go back to my GitHub. Actually, I think there's one thing I forgot to do here. So here is the one repository. And it looks like it was successful because everything appeared here, and we have my commit message right here. There's actually one thing, you guys will not have to do this. I will have to do this. So this is going to take a couple minutes to probably be live, but if I go to this website right here, and this website name, yeah, it's going to take a couple minutes. But my website name looks a little strange because I had to create this in an organization. So it's our Markdown website demo.github.io .harrypotter.github.io. Yours should just be like your name.github.io. So let's come back to this in like 5 minutes and make sure it built online.
Why did you use an organization? Just out of curiosity. Or create an organization for that?
Because I don't know how to do a second website on my personal GitHub account. Mine won't let me do that.
Oh, so you can do the same exact thing. You just make a repo, and then it's your name / the repo name dot.
Oh, okay.
You can only have one that has your exact name.
Okay.
You can make any website named whatever the repo name is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I should have thought of that too.
Oh, no, I was just curious. I didn't realize you were an organization.
I'm gonna like delete the organization after this, but yeah.
Sorry.
It's a shell organization. So that's it. That's in our Markdown website. That's the sort of simplest form. There's a lot more you can do. Obviously, a lot different kinds of formatting, things you can add. For example, you can add Shiny apps, with which, if you're unfamiliar with those, they're super useful. Here's a Shiny app I have on my webpage. This is totally something you could have on yours. This is about my research. This is like copied from Ryan's website. Here's a map of my study sites. Here's like an example of some modeling and data.
So this isn't a Shiny app. It's a Flex dashboard.
Oh, it's a Flex. You're right. But you can add Flex dashboards to our Markdown and Shiny apps. Her leaflet is a Shiny app, right?
No, but it's...
Never mind.
That's okay. Yeah, Shiny's a little different. You do need to host that on a server because it needs to run our instance.
Oh, okay.
So you can't actually host, on GitHub at least, you can't host a Shiny app specifically on your website. It's a little... You can host it via... There's other options, but just...
Okay, I'm sorry. I lied. You can put a Flex dashboard on your website. Flex dashboard.
Or if you want to go to Ryan's site and show just like what a couple different.
Yeah, and what I wanted to also say is the way that I have learned almost all of what I've learned about building a website is by looking at other people's websites. So, and the great thing about making your website on GitHub, this is Ryan's website, is that you can go, I could go to Ryan's GitHub account and maybe I'm like, let's check out this Shiny app. And maybe I'm like, how did he do that? I want that on my website. The great thing is that I can go into his GitHub and I can look at his code and I can like copy it, which I've done many times. Do you notice our sites look very similar? But learning from others and finding resources on GitHub and just through Google searches is your best resource. It is, you can learn to do just about anything if you Google and have the ability to not throw your computer at the wall.
Also, to be clear, we just threw R at you. Some of you had to deal with Xcode. We did R Markdown, and we did GitHub, all in less than 1 hour. So
yeah, this was fast.
Over your head, that was like a lot of information that we sort of just packed in. But we have things right here for a reason.
Yeah, we'll be here for another hour, so.
Nice.
Sweet. Thank you, Martha.
Yeah.
Have email.